Today is the day for the giveaway. So at the end of the video, I will announce the two winners, and you guys will have to come to Vigaprint and pick up the screens yourself. You're getting 12 screens per person. 2 people are getting the screens today. All right, today I'm gonna have something interesting for you guys. I'm gonna do a 4-color setup. I'm gonna take you guys through the steps of taping the screen, setting up the screen, and how you should have burned the screen. So if you are a beginner, if you're just getting started with screen printing and you're trying to learn, and you run into my video and say, oh, well, it's a multicolor, I'm not there yet, don't worry. Just kind of check it out, see kind of what it's like. In the future, near future actually, I'm gonna begin a series of tips for screen printers, and I'm gonna go from scratch all the way to the end with full details on how to do it, just the way I do it, so that it comes out looking great when you do it yourself. But for today, I'm gonna show you guys the film for the 4-color that I'm doing. And once you put the film together, it should look like this. Okay, so they're not quite registered here, but you'll get the idea on what's going on. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. All right, so let's go through the steps. These have already been burnt, but I'm just gonna walk you guys through the steps really quick, and so you guys don't fall behind on any of the things that I do. Also, this particular job has size tags. So since I have 4 colors that I'm doing, I decided to cut these individually and put them on the back of the screen so that I can set them all up at once and then print the tags really fast and not waste any time. So that's just things to keep in mind and how to use your screens better. Okay, so I have all 4 screens here. Now, when I was burning my screen, I had to have each film on one of the screens. So each film goes on each screen. You can't double up and put 2, one on the back side and one on the front, because you're gonna need that color. So you can't flip the screen, print it, take it down, flip it again, print it. It just doesn't work that way. All right, here's one of the most important tools that I think for screen printing, and it's the most helpful for me. It's a T-square. If you don't have one, buy one. They're cheap. Buy them at Michael's. That's where I got mine. I used my 40% off coupon, and it was really cheap. So you should have registration marks like this one right here, which centers your design and gives you a straight line. So when you set it up, you have all that ready to go. Remember that when you put the film on the screen to expose it, you have to be able to read it, then you lay it down. Okay? Otherwise, when you print, it's gonna look backwards. So make sure you can read it, bring it straight down into the screen, grab your T-square, put it up against the top of the screen, and you wanna bring it down to the same measurement. So if it works good for you to have it 5 inches down, then burn them all at 5 inches down, which is exactly what I did here. So we go 5 inches down on the registration mark. Let me show you. Okay, so you're gonna do the same exact thing. And here's something important. On this film right here, we don't have any wording on it that tells us how to put it down exactly. So make sure you tell your graphic designer, or if you're doing it yourself, to write down the color for that screen on the registration marks, so we know that this one is gold, and if we can read that it says gold, we're gonna put it down like this. Now, once you have your down figured out, you wanna go over and center it as best as you can. I figured that mine was for these 20-inch screens, although you would think 10 is the center. Weirdly, it's not. It's 9 3/4. So 5 down, 9 3/4 over. And that is what I did with all 4 screens. So we're 5 inches down. Yep. 5 inches down. 5 inches down. Okay, so now that I'm getting ready to set up, we look at our design, and depending on what you have, you might want to set up with a different color. But in this situation, this one right here, it's the black, and it has the most area that is covered by the entire design. So I wouldn't want to set up with something like this and then put everything else together off of this one. So you kind of have to look at what you have and work with it. So let's go set up the black screen. Now I'm not sure what kind of press you have, but I have an 8-color 4-station, and some of the stuff that's up here I'm already done with. So I'm gonna take down the last job that I did and use probably just this one, and I'll have 4 heads open to set up my job. So let's get started with the black screen. Okay, so this is another thing that I pay attention to when I'm printing. If I have the option of printing wet on wet, I will. This job is gonna be on white t-shirts, and we have those dots that are colored. So we're gonna do color, 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 and we're gonna drop the black at the end. So you may wanna kind of figure out in what order you're gonna be printing, so that once you start printing, you're not fumbling back and forth, moving the screen like, oh, I have the yellow over there and that's next. So you move it all the way over here. You kind of want to go in a sequence that follows the next one. That way you print faster and it's just better. It works out better in the end. So something weird just happened. My camera took a crap. It had a full battery. I was doing the tutorial for you guys and it just died. I don't know. Oh, there it is. Nice. Let's get back to work. All right, so we are back to work now. My camera almost took a crap. Thankfully it didn't. It was probably because it's too hot outside, and it was just like, I'm tired. Give me a break, dog. So anyways, as I was saying, you want to use the screen as leverage to bring down the head. Once you bring it down, you want to loosen it up, and you'll be able to move the screen around to center it to the palette and make sure it's straight on the palette. So let's do that. Okay, so we want to make sure we have a good grip back here on the clamp. So it grabs the screen. We're gonna bring our T-square down to the registration mark because we don't want to move our frame around now that we want it nice and locked at the back. My pallets are 15 inches wide, so we're gonna bring that registration mark down to 7.5. Make sure we have that line nice and straight. Once it's nice and straight and centered, we're gonna hold our screen down. All right, you guys, I'm having some trouble with my camera, and this is what happened earlier. It just kind of froze on me. Check it out. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with my camera, but it's off, on, took a crap again. So anyways, once you have the first screen set up, you want to make sure that you tape the edges so that the ink doesn't leak out where you don't have any emulsion. And you probably want to tape the bottom half so that you don't have ink on your back design and everything is nice and secure. That way you don't have ink running down the screen all over the place where you don't want it. Okay, so we have our screen taped up all the way across, and then you can tell right here where it's taped from sort of the middle to the back because I don't want any ink on that image that's down there. Whatever. So now we're gonna make a quick print of our black. Then off of this black, we're gonna set up the rest of the colors. You'll see how. For that, we're going to need a white Pellon, and this is just a test sheet. Okay. We don't have glue out there, so we're gonna grab a can of 375. What I like to do is set the Pellon on the board, spray the board, then I flip the Pellon so that it sticks. A lot of people like to glue their boards first and then stick the Pellon, but as you do that over time, the boards start getting stickier, so one stickier than the rest. Then you start pulling the shirt or yanking on it because it has too much glue, and this way you kind of control that. So I'm gonna run a print across the screen. I'm gonna print on that Pellon to show you guys how we're gonna set up the rest of the colors. You have printed on your Pellon that's sprayed on with glue so it doesn't move around. You want to tape over the printed area with the 3-inch box tape. I don't like the smaller one because you have to put too many strips of tape. So after that, we're going to go to our next head, bring the screen over, we're going to just tie it slightly, bring it down, and then loosen it. Now all we have to do is register our registration marks, or I should say line them up. Okay, so we're going to line up our registration marks to the black screen. You want to make sure that the dots line up perfectly, your center mark lines up perfectly, and then again you just kind of hold the screen down with your hand and tie it down. Okay, so you guys are pretty much looking at a repetitive process from here on. We're going to tape each screen the same way we taped the first one. We're going to set up the second one here and the third one there. You do not need to tape over each print that you do, because that's the reason we put tape on here, so that once you run the first print, you make sure that everything is lined up and it's printed correctly. All you got to do is wipe down the ink off of the tape, bring down your next screen, print it, make sure everything's correct. You know, if you have to tweak it around, if you have to move the screen for whatever reason, you adjust it, and then you print over it again and tape and wipe off the ink until you're done with the entire process. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the rest of them, make sure they're lined up. Once I have everything lined up, I'm gonna show you guys how it looks at the end. And we can't forget to tape off our registration marks, because I'm pretty sure that your customers don't want that on their shirts. And my camera is still acting up. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Whatever. Alright, you guys, so here we have it. They're all printed. Every single color is on there. Registration marks look good. Now all we have to do is send a picture to the customer for approval, and we get to printing. There it is. There's the 3 colors and the black.